More than halfway through the 2023 season, Maryland baseball is still trying to find its stride. But with a 4-2 record in the Big Ten and 18 conference games left, the Terps still have a chance to make this season a success. We'll go all in on the program right here on the Left Bench in Focus.
It's a tough group of kids. We'd get close, but we couldn't quite finish.
Welcome in, everyone. This is the Left Bench in Focus presented by Terrapin Sports Central. Matthew Neus here with Jessie Schwartz. And Jessie, this weather outside makes me want to talk all about baseball.
Well, you're in luck because over the next 15 minutes, we're going to just discuss all things Maryland baseball, starting with that heartbreaking loss Tuesday night at the Bob.
It wouldn't have been as heartbreaking if they wouldn't have come back there in the ninth. Rob Vaughn added the midweek game against Georgetown just last weekend, and now maybe he regrets it. Georgetown broke out to an early 3-0 lead with a 2 RBI double from Christian Ficca. But like they've done time and time again, the Terps would initiate a dogfight, responding quickly with an Ian Petrutz home run for his 8th of the season. Both teams made spectacular plays in this one, including a snag by Elijah Lambros in center, and later Matt Shaw flashed the leather for a sick get-up grab. But Maryland's pitching, of course, collapsed. Kenny Littman gave up 2 home runs in the 5th to extend Georgetown's lead. The Terps got those runs back behind an Eddie Acopian double. Then, back-to-back Hoya blasts in the 7th made it a 3-run game once again. One more in the top of the 9th meant that Maryland needed another gritty, hard-fought comeback. And they did just that. Jump-started by Luke Schliger's 2-run single, Nick LaRusso's second double of the game brought in Schliger, tying the game and sending it to extras. But that was all the gas the Terps had left, as Elijah Lambros misplayed a ball in center, allowing the go-ahead run to score, and that was all she wrote, as Maryland fell 10-9.
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, we set innings up in the middle and you bang a double, you just do your job and hit a sac fly. We're no longer chasing anymore. You know, we would get close, but we couldn't quite finish. You know, we'd set.
These close games that the Terps are playing maybe will help them come the postseason, but right now it's a little bit concerning how they're struggling in these midweek games, especially the pitching.
Yeah, these midweek games seem to be the struggle, but good news for them, they have 18 conference games left, and they've 4-2 in the conference so far, so if they can keep that up heading into more conference play.
And Rob Vaughn's squad did not start off last week on the right foot either, dropping its midweek game by 10 runs to William & Mary. But the Terps played their second Big Ten series this past weekend against Rutgers and did not disappoint the home crowd. The Dirty Terps didn't muster much offense in the first 2 games of the series, but they did just enough to win in both. On Friday, Maryland trailed 3-1 heading into the bottom of the 6th, but a Matt Shaw dinger to right center brought the deficit to 1. And in the 7th, Nick LaRusso cranked a go-ahead 3-run homer to center, propelling Maryland to a 6-4 win. Saturday was Nick Dean's day on the bump, and he put it together with his best start at the Bob this season. Dean went 6 innings, giving up 2 runs on 4 hits, but 2 more Maryland homers was all it took to take the lead. Zach Martin blasted his first of the year, and once again, Nick LaRusso played the hero. The senior's solo shot gave Maryland the lead, and the Terps held on to win 4-3. Rutgers took the final games of the series 14-8, putting the Terps at 4-2 in conference play.
Maryland will now look to take 3 consecutive Big Ten series this coming weekend, traveling to Columbus to take on Ohio State. The Buckeyes enter this weekend with a 2-7 conference record after getting swept by Indiana and dropping 2 straight series to Minnesota and Michigan State. Freshman catcher Matthew Gravelin leads the way for OSU at the dish, batting a team-high .358 and plating 22 runs. But Gravelin and the entire Buckeye lineup will be tested by the Maryland pitching staff this weekend. Jason Savacool has been the regular Friday starter, followed by Nick Dean and Kyle McCoy on the weekend. Savacool has a team-best .333 ERA. More on him later in the show. And after hosting a regional here in College Park last season, Maryland is projected as a 3 seed in this year's field of 64.
D1Baseball.com released its mid-season projections last week, placing the Terps in the Charlottesville region. The projected Charlottesville region will be all about the Mid-Atlantic, with Virginia, Rider, and West Virginia all battling the Terps for a super regional spot.
Virginia would host the regional as the 1 seed and 4th overall team in the field of 64. West Virginia will be the 2 seed and Rider the 4th. Maryland has seen the Mountaineers once this season, dropping that midweek contest 8-6. And to talk about where this team's at right now and where it could go down the stretch, we're excited to be joined by Harrison Rich, who covers the Terps for us here at TerrapinSportsCentral.com.
Harrison, it's so great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Harrison, after Tuesday's loss to Georgetown, that's the second straight midweek game the Terps have dropped and the third overall in the season. What's not going right for them during these midweek games?
Yeah, well, I think Rob Vaughn's been searching for a pitcher to kind of focus on midweek matchups, and because he has his rotation pretty set on the weekends with Jason Savacool, Nick Dean, Kyle McCoy, but he has a transfer in Nate Haberthier who's kind of been struggling on the mound. He just pitched this last Tuesday against Georgetown, kind of struggled out of the gates, and he hasn't really found that consistent option to go to on midweek. So I think that's really the thing that's plaguing them right now.
And talking about, how they're doing this season, a little earlier we discussed right now they're projected to be in Charlottesville for the regional. And if Maryland continues to improve and keep winning in Big Ten play on those weekend games, do you think there's any chance of a regional coming back to College Park again this season?
I would say it's unlikely, but there's always a chance. They definitely need to win a lot of these Big Ten games down the stretch here. They're 4-2 so far in conference play. And then they definitely need to take a few more midweeks because, these last two, they lost by 10 to William & Mary, lost by 1 to Georgetown yesterday. So I think there's definitely a lot of work to do, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue of scoring runs for this team right now, but it's about giving up runs and giving up runs in bunches. They've given up 10 or more runs in 8 games so far this season. What's going wrong for this pitching staff right now?
Yeah, well, like I said before, they lost Ryan Ramsey, who was a key pitcher for them last year, obviously. And then Jason Savacool was the Friday starter last year, but he's definitely taken a bit of a step back this year. Nick Dean's also taken a step back in his production. His ERA is in the mid-5s right now. So I think they're really just searching for that consistent option, like I said. And the bullpen is not helping either. They've definitely been giving up a lot of runs in bunches in their appearances. So I think Vaughn really just needs to find some consistent options who he can rely on going forward. He's definitely searching for that.
And talking about that pitching, before we let you go, straight up, do you think Rob Vaughn and Mike Morrison will find an answer for these pitching woes?
It's tough, but if there's one guy who's really been good, I think his ERA doesn't show it, but Nigel Belgrade has been really productive out of the bullpen. He was blown up for one bad outing about a week ago, but I think his ERA was somewhere in the 2s or 3s before that, and he was just really effective. So, I think Vaughn can go to Belgrade maybe as more of a closer going forward, and hopefully he can find maybe 1 or 2 other consistent options going forward.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, Harrison, that's all we have for you, but thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yeah, of course.
You can follow Harrison on Twitter at HarrisonRich_, and of course, read his work online at TerrapinSportsCentral.com. Well, you probably know all of the names from Maryland's run to a regional final last year: Matt Shaw, Nick LaRusso, Kevin Keister, etc. But maybe you don't know about the newcomers, like starting first baseman Eddie Hakopian, who grew up with Maryland baseball in his blood. The son of former ACC Player of the Year Derek Hakopian, Eddie has long been familiar with the Bob and the baseball program, attending many games as a fan. Before he could don the black and gold himself, he spent 2 years at a California junior college improving his play. Now back in his home state, he's having a strong season and making his dad proud. And don't go anywhere, because when we return, our Nathan Schwartz talks one-on-one with Rob Vaughn after Tuesday night's loss.
Then later, we'll hand out our mid-season awards. Stay with us.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back to the Left Bench in Focus, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. Matthew Neus, Jessie Schwartz, and before we dish out our mid-season awards.
Unfortunately, we have to talk a little bit more about Tuesday.
Yeah, Maryland's loss to Georgetown was just the latest in a string of disappointing defeats here in 2023.
That's right, Matt, and our Nathan Schwartz caught up with Coach Vaughn after Tuesday's game to discuss the state of Maryland baseball ahead of its weekend series with the Buckeyes.
I'm here with Coach Vaughn after a 10-9 loss to Georgetown. Coach, what do you think about this game as a whole? A lot of back and forth battle and a lot of resiliency at the end.
Yeah, resiliency at the end. We just weren't good enough. I mean, bottom line, that's a good team over there. Edwin does a great job with those guys. They're tough. We had opportunities. I thought we did a really good job of setting innings up. We just couldn't quite finish them. You know, you have the base loaded one out, you have a chance to kind of get back in that thing and take a lead. It's a 1-2-3 double play. You have second, third, nobody out with your top three up, and you manufacture one. And just we had some opportunities there and weren't good enough. And then, we had some guys that threw the ball well at times, but. Credit their hitters, man. When we made a mistake, they were on time and they got us.
Yeah, and it seems like a problem for the entire pitching staff has been the long ball, especially in that game. You had Lopez go deep twice. Jake Hyde got one deep as well. What do you do in order to fix that problem?
I think some of it's just bad counts. I mean, I think a lot of it you look at, you're behind with dangerous hitters. I mean, that's Lopez hit 11 on the year. Hyde, I think he's hit 10 now. It can really hit. You just have to be able to do some different things. If you're ahead of hitters, you can kind of really do some damage. I felt like tonight, when we did get ahead of hitters, we couldn't quite finish them and let them back in at bats, and we got back to kind of fastball counts, and they didn't miss them. Or we were behind, and you're trying to get something out over the plate, and those guys are dangerous. They leverage the ball out of here. So just a better job of being able to finish hitters when you're ahead, and to be able to do some different things when you're behind it. We just weren't good enough for that tonight. We had some guys who were really well at times, we just couldn't quite finish.
And Matt, even though there's some pitching struggles at the Bob right now, the offense firing on all cylinders. Bats seem to be heating up for current Terps and pro Terps like those in the majors.
Yeah, the offense here in College Park is on fire, and it's also on fire for Brandon Lau down in Tampa Bay. As Major League Baseball is back in full swing, no team is hotter than the Tampa Bay Rays. Aided by Dirty Terp alum Brandon Lau, the Rays have jumped out to the best start in all of baseball. Lau has launched 4 long balls and plated 10 runs in the early goings down at the Trop. The second baseman holds a .321 batting average and is ranked 4th in the majors in OPS. His solo shot in the 8th against Boston on Monday night brought in the winning run, propelling the Rays to their best start in franchise history. And as we highlight the former Terp making big moves in the big leagues, it's the perfect time to hand out some midseason awards to the current Terps. For a midseason MVP, it could be none other than Nick LaRusso. The senior has picked up right where he left off last year. He's been on an absolute tear at the plate, leading the Terps in most offensive categories. LaRusso's double on Tuesday against Georgetown extended his hit streak to 31 games, only 25 more to DiMaggio. He leads the team in homers with 13, RBIs with 51, and slugging percentage checking in at a .727.
Let's continue our awards and head to the mound for our midseason Cy Young winner. And it's going to go to Friday starter Jason Savacool. Savacool has come back better than ever after an impressive season last year when he was an all Big Ten first-team player. This season, he has pitched 48 2/3 innings, more than any other Terp. Savacool's also struck out 47 batters already, and with 3 wins in 8 starts this year, he's our midseason Cy Young winner.
And it would not be right to exclude a Gold Glove winner, and that goes to Elijah Lambros. The South Carolina transfer has made his home in center field. Lambros has been error-free in the middle of the outfield, recording 64 putouts this year. Aside from his perfect fielding percentage, it's the highlight reel web gems that give Lambros that Gold Glove. Lambros robbed Georgetown's Angelo DeCunta of extra bases Tuesday and took away a 2-run Iowa home run to kickstart Maryland's series win in the Hawkeye State to open conference play. And now it's time for our top 5 plays from the first 32 games of the campaign.
Okay, go ahead and start us off, Matt.
Let's do it. At number 5, it's Matt Shaw taking away anything going through the infield, ranging and throwing out the guy at first. What a play that is. I mean, nothing gets through the center of the infield with Matt Shaw at short. And I mean, what a throw, off balance, and got it just in time.
Talking about great grabs, here's Matt Wood's home run robbery. Grabs it out of the air. Really, they thought they had it, and he just gets up over the fence and manages to snag that one to keep the Terps from giving up a run.
Yeah, and with 2 great defensive plays, let's turn to the offensive side. Matt Shaw, bases loaded, 507 feet. I mean, I could not even hit a baseball 400 feet, let alone 507 feet that Matt Shaw just did at Iowa to put the Terps on top.
And next up, we're going to look at Zeisloft, who is going to lay out in his first career start, making that grab, saving any kind of run from coming in. Look at him dive out there and manage to snag that ball. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, and we go back to the Hawkeye State for our #1 play for the first 32 games. Elijah Lambros, that Gold Glove winner, robbing a home run, a 2-run bomb for Iowa, keeping the Terps ahead by 3, and in the end, giving the Terps the win. Well, that's all for this edition of the Left Bench in Focus. TLB will be back on Tuesday with Kevin McNulty and Kira Bruno here in the desk. Stay tuned for the next In Focus show coming your way April 27th, where we go all in on Maryland softball.
And be sure to keep up with all of Terrapin Sports Central's coverage on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
Thanks for joining us.